𝙒𝘖𝙀 calling the injury to Marshawn Lloyd, the third-round pick a year ago, who had the worst injury luck I have ever seen a player have in a single season in all my time covering this team. And when he was finally healthy from all of his football injuries, he needed an emergency appendectomy and didn't get back on the field because of that. Now, 𝙒𝘀 saying that the Marshawn Lloyd injury to his leg was a non-contact injury and that it did not appear to have been caused by the hit by Hobbs. If that was just the unfortunate circumstance, interesting, right? I still think that when the coach kicks a guy out of practice for a while, he still did something wrong, even if they don't think that that was the cause. But Joe, did you ever have a guy that, I mean, this poor kid, if this is, because whenever I see non-contact, by the way, I think the worst, right? Like when you see that phrase, if this is as severe as maybe it could be, did you ever have a teammate that you're like, God, this guy is so good, but he just can't catch a break. All he catches is bad breaks. He's never healthy. Did you ever have anyone that you played with during your decade plus that went through that kind of thing?
Oh, I'm sure I did, and I'm trying to think back now quickly, like who would have been a good example because I think it was a lot of times you had receivers or defensive backs that would come in and it was like, man, hamstring injury, then their quad, and then they hurt their ankle, and it's like they can just never get healthy, especially during training camp. Mm-hmm. It's such an important time of the season to be getting in shape, to physically and mentally get yourself ready, build those calluses for the length of the season. And then if you're not there, like you're just never able to get up to speed. And then once the season starts, it's a lot of times too late. But a guy I never actually played with because he was injured the year I came into the NFL, and then he tried to come back in year 2 for me, and he just wasn't able to do it, was LaCharles Bentley. I think he tore his patella tendon the year before I was a rookie in Cleveland, and he was a big free agent signing. He was the top center paid in the NFL at the time, a big Pro Bowler, Cleveland guy too, so it was kind of a homecoming, so it was really sad. And the very first day, I think like one of the very first plays of training camp, he blows his patella tendon and then gets a staph infection. He's in the hospital for months and months. They think that it may have to amputate his leg. I mean, it was a real awful deal, and he actually never got back to playing in the NFL. It was such a bad staph infection, a little bit kind of like what Alex Smith had with his leg when he broke his leg. So I feel like every NFL team is littered with those type of stories because talent is oftentimes not the thing that holds you back from having a great NFL career.
Jesse, my question for you, and look, I wasn't down there. I was with you two and Evan when 𝙒𝘀 was saying this. But this is the life of a reporter. I'm always skeptical of stuff, right? Like that's part of the job, right? You can't just take whatever a coach or a GM or a player necessarily says, because there are times where you're not being told the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I'm not, I want to be very careful in my choice of words here because I was not there. But the circumstances under which Marshawn Lloyd got hurt and Nate Hobbs being an important piece that they signed in free agency, I'm not 100% sure that I would believe with 100% certainty that one had nothing to do with the other. Am I being unreasonable by thinking that way?
No, I think that's the way you have to as a reporter, especially as we know injuries in the NFL. There's a lot of flexibility in what the truth really is, as we all have seen throughout the years. The Belichicks, they did a great job of concealing or shrouding injuries by just saying he's got a leg or a lower body injury. You're like, okay, well, is it his toe? Is it his ankle, knee, hip? What are we talking about here? And I think one of the things you could do is, like, the player has been beaten down and the coach took it out on him, put him in timeout. Everybody saw the example they made of him, right? Nate Hobbs probably feeling pretty sorry for himself right now. How do you bring him back into the fold and let him feel like, hey, we still got your back. You're still our guy. Well, it's by going out in the media and kind of protecting him a little bit. No, that wasn't the hit that injured the player. It was something else. We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to discuss it, but we don't have to pile on our player right now. And the player knows the truth. And he sees now that his team is going out and defending him publicly. Now he's like, okay, I know what I did was wrong. I know they had to take the action that they took, put me in timeout, taking me out of practice, let me cool down. But they're my people. They understand me. They know how to get me motivated and how to bring the best out of myself. And I'm really ready to fight for these people because they're showing it with trying to defend me a little bit from the people that might have some pitchforks about what happened in practice yesterday.
If I may for a moment, there was a time in college when after a big night partying and whatnot, I slept and rolled over on my phone, which I never brought to the bed with me, and I cracked the screen. And then I was talking to someone the next day. They said, "Well, did you break your phone when you were drinking?" I said, "No, I broke it when I was sleeping."
I just happened to be sleeping at the bar. I mean, that's a common thing to do these days.
That's kind of what I'm starting to feel like we're seeing here with it. Did Nate Hobbs directly cause? Did Marshawn Lloyd get hurt the second that Nate Hobbs? Maybe not. But is it fair to assume that yesterday the big story that everyone was talking about after practice was Nate Hobbs going too hard and he hit Marshawn Lloyd and he had to be helped off the field? And then all of a sudden, the next day, the general manager or the head coach are saying Marshawn Lloyd's dealing with a fairly serious injury. It has nothing to do with that yesterday. It's totally separate. What else could there have been that happened separate from that? Was he just running drills on the side afterward and did something bad to his leg? That seems somewhat far-fetched to assume that. And like Joe's saying, it's probably just to protect Hobbs and to keep the dynamic in the locker room calm 1 week into practice would be my guess. Because the other thing you would have to try and measure, what's the intent of saying that it wasn't related to that?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could think of, right?
So again, I wasn't in the room. I don't know. I would just say this. It is conceivable, right? Plausible deniability, if you will, that he planted before he got hit and something happened in his knee or whatever it is, and then he got hit on top of it. I can't say that that's impossible. So I'm not, and again, I'm not in the room, and I'm certainly not a doctor. Tausch loves to tell everyone that I'm not a doctor at every turn because of my amateur diagnosis of Christian Watson. All I know is this: if this kid tore his ACL or tore a patellar tendon or whatever it might have been yesterday, whether it was directly or indirectly or completely unrelated to the Nate Hobbs hit, that really sucks for him because he has had some really awful luck. So we're going to have to wait and see. Matt LaFleur did address it. And what Matt LaFleur said is what you'd expect Matt LaFleur to say. Unfortunately, he's had to fight through a lot of adversity. He called the injury unfortunate. I think you can tell from tone usually if it's something pretty significant, and it sounds to me like it might be something significant. So we will find out more throughout the course of the day here.